Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. Hang out with these nerds.
Nate the Nerdarch.
Ted?
And today, Nerdarchy asks you the question, is this GM dealing with the player straight from hell?
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy. Also down below is going to be the script of the GM 911 that's been sent to us. If you have one, you can send this over to us at nerdarchy@gmail.com.
All right, so this one's a bit loaded. I want to go with, and essentially,
From Lodane.
yeah, from Lodane, and it's loaded. Essentially, he's got a character. He did a session 0. They had everything worked out. Last minute, the player pulls a bait and switch, and this player decides that they're going to play a demophobe, PTSD character that is totally like against anything from hell, the abyss, the lower planes, that kind of stuff. And the whole campaign is going to be about that.
Right. So it's a real challenge for this particular DM. And they've even gone through a number of different things to try and help this character get over it.
All the way getting a telephone call from the deity.
From
saying,
your god.
hey, it's okay. You're going to be able to endure it.
A cleric of her faith, a mentor, and then her god literally came to her and said, "You're going to be fine." And she's still like, "Nope, I'm not going to make any changes. This is what I want to do."
So my first thought was, God, this is an aggravating character. But my second one was, well, have you talked with the player specifically about what their vision for the character is? Because if it's, by 5th or 10th level, I'm going to get over it in some way, at some point. Because I've had characters that I've had specific time spots around where I was going to start acting slightly different or taking different actions, and it was going to show growth as a character. So is she planning on having growth as a character, or is she just going to be, I'm this monolith of an idea for the whole campaign? If that's the case, it's kind of like, well, then you have to figure out, I say you can do a few things. You can change the campaign, which is really a pain in the butt. So hopefully, unless you're set on it, maybe there's all the demons.
Instead of demons and devils, they're all now angels.
Yeah, they're all rogue angels or something who don't like demons and devils either. So they're like a third faction in the war or something. Or you can do some kind of magical effects on the character, but I think that's kind of heavy-handed. At that point, if she's not willing to change the character or have her agency develop it towards something that's a more playable character, it's like I almost want to just kill it off and be like, play a new character. That's
Celebrate.
Some terrible. You go out in a blaze of glory.
So that going out in a blaze of glory for some people, that is a really awesome thing. For others, that's like a nail in the coffin of their gaming career. It's like, no, I want to play my character. I don't ever want them to die. I was saying off camera that you could have the possibility of saying, well, if literally the god's appearance is not going to change this character,
Perhaps Asmodeus instead will help.
and the face-to-face conversation in real life about where they want to go not panning out, then I would advise either say, look, this character is not appropriate for this game. Do you want to change back to what we talked about during session 0? Do you want to plan a character arc, as Nate was saying, to get to a point where everybody can just continue on with the game as opposed to things all raining hell on the game?
And that will help the other the other people playing characters to endure the aggravation of this particular character as well, if they know, okay, it's going to be different eventually.
And then the only other thing that I would do if everything else has failed would be to have the players or NPCs work on something that literally changes her perception of demons, and they don't appear demonic or hell-oriented or lower planes, and she sees something else.
Puppy dogs.
Angry puppy dogs.
I don't like going that kind of heavy-handed.
Well, first of all, very first thing, talk to the player. Go like, this is disruptive. Like Nate said, are you going to fix this later? Here's where we go. All right, we need to separate player goals from character goals so that we can get into something that's going to pan out in the long run for the story. Because if it's problematic for the rest of the group, then
It's technically a problem for everybody.
Yeah, so really, like you're basically causing trouble at the table. What you can't have your fun at the expense of the rest of the table. It just doesn't work. So at that point, like Nate said, you just ask them to make another character that fits with the game. If there's no definitive, hey, this is going to change, because one of the other things is, like literally, like they were interrogating a half-fiend and she beats it to death, and very, very graphically describes the things that are going on and how bad she beats this thing to death and stuff like that. And like I would also bring up another thing that we haven't even discussed, and that's like I've played with other people who wanted to play like similar type of character, post-traumatic stress disorder. And they were playing with actual real veterans, right? And they're like, so like one of the things they did before they even introduced the characters, talk to other players, make sure it wasn't going to be a problem, it wasn't going to be offensive to anybody, or be a trigger for anybody at the table. So that's the other thing too, I guess. If you're going to bring like real world kind of stuff into your game like that, you also want to make sure everyone at the table is kind of cool with it, and it's a subject matter that's appropriate to the table.
Now, I've had games where a player or players have hijacked the storyline to go off and do their own thing, and sometimes you can work with that. But clearly, this is a case where the player, after having a successful session 0, opted to go in a direction literally contrary to what was agreed upon in a session 0. So like that's always a challenge. So I would ask why the player wanted to make that kind of switch, and do they realize the kind of impact that it's going to have both short term and long term.
And out of game, I might talk to the player about, well, we're going to have to add this flaw to your character sheet now, and there's going to be circumstances where you're going to have disadvantage when you have to address this flaw. Sure, I'll give you inspiration throughout the game for it, but make it a real penalty where they're going to have to deal with this on a regular basis if they make it an issue on a regular basis.
So it's not just the whim of the player when these things happen.
Yeah, or it could be like you could give them disadvantage on things. You could have other things happen. I don't know. As a DM, you can come up with some creative stuff where maybe a little bit of the carrot and the stick. Like, oh, maybe I don't want my character to keep having this problem. So
Good
maybe
point.
I can move away from it by move them away from it by introducing this in the game. But like all those solutions are like second best to actually just talking to the player and getting them to agree with you. And figure out a way for them to have their character and not have it disrupt the game. Or what about just toning it down? Like you can play this character, and they can have this stuff going on. But can we bring it back a little bit so that the other players in the game can play too?
Right.
Compromise. Like that's essentially what you want to do. You want to make sure that you as the DM is unhappy and them as the players are unhappy, because then you've fulfilled and successfully orchestrated a good compromise. No, I'm kidding. But you do want to get them to you want to get them to compromise. Bring it back. Make a character personality that's going to fit in with the group and the game that's going on, and isn't going to always be hogging the spotlight and ruining the fun at the table for everybody.
Absolutely. So, do you guys have any other advice for Lodane? Is a great part to continue that conversation, and that's in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over at nerdarchy.com.
You can also patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.